video log. We're going to start it here in a minute. I'm going to try not to stay too long today, but kind of a deep subject. And we're going to get started here in just a bit. You should be able to find chapters down below. They should be live within 2 days, 3 days of the live stream. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. We're going to be discussing my thoughts and opinions on law and private conscience. It's essentially, especially in a religious context, and we'll get into that in just a bit. There's probably going to be dislikes on this video. There might be comments. I've had all comments for toxicity, so um, there also may not be a whole lot of likes because this stuff is kind of sensitive to some people, so a lot of people actually. But we'll get into that in just a minute. Be right back. Okay, I think I'm good to go here. Hopefully the camera agrees with me. Just make sure. Uh, okay. It's such a weird thumbnail, but it's the best I could come up with. All right. Let's see. Is this gonna work? It might. It is. Cool. All right. So, what we're talking about today is um, personal thoughts that I've thought about a lot since a recent election, pretty big election that had the eyes of the nation. And it's really got people in like this severe and sometimes what feels like could be a very violent quandary, about how things are, especially among religious groups. Um, Certain religious groups are being attacked and or critiqued or sometimes even threatened, sadly. And I wanted to share these thoughts as somebody that used to, not violently or anything like that, but used to be very, very critical. Sometimes it felt like hatred during one of the most fearsome during one of the most fearsome points in my life where I carried something against Christians. Well, actually, not Christians in particular, but also just religion as well. Um, and I want to bring that into the light of day. I've mentioned it before because I want to state that my past abuse sourced and was rooted in religious belief, giving somebody the idea that as long as they ask for forgiveness, they can commit atrocities against me, especially my family. Um, so there was that in my life, but I've grown a lot since then. I went to counseling, done all this, and you learn you can't broad sweep, criticize everyone that may be a part of a belief structure. So there's that. But I see that happening a lot today, um, of people with certain values and faiths, and they're being put into a pocket from outside groups of being defined by the more extreme members of their religious group and acts that have been committed in the past. When that's not really the truth of any religious group, because you've got different parts of it that act peacefully, that act, you know, that get along with society, that gets along with other people. Um, so there's that. I wanted to put that out there because what we're going to touch on today, and again, I'm not going to try to be here too long, but there's never telling with things like this, but we'll see. Also, the camera may act up, may or may not. I don't know. It's all I got right now, especially in this economy. As of 2025, right now, in November 2025, things are not good. We are being impacted by something that I actually think today's discussion kind of has a hand in. Maybe not totally, but it feels like there is a root going on here, especially with recent and ongoing Supreme Court decisions. And this whole discussion will be mostly American based, but I think in some way it can also be applied to a global context. Um, so there's that. Anyway, all right. So, um, like I said, a lot of intense fear, particularly from a conservative Christian standpoint point of view, probably also on some secular areas too. I don't see this personally. This is not a fear I carry, um, but it tends to be people being scared and certain media sources stoking the fires of Sharia law being implemented in certain parts of the country. It's crazy. It's a very specific religious code being used that of laws that govern everyone, including Christians, including Jews, including Buddhists, including people like myself, agnostic atheists. Um, and it gets crazy. So, what I want to talk about specifically um, is America's entire PR is that this is a land of diversity. The whole idea is supposed to be that the law won't oppress you for your private conscience, but it will protect you and everyone else so long as no harm is being done, right? You should have a fighting chance either way. Now, as an agnostic atheist, I'm sorry, my speech impediment will be in play here. I get it, I really do. The fear that people are currently describing about Sharia law, um, it's how I have felt from time to time when I see laws being created or justified based on Christian belief right here in America. I have not heard a whole lot of people talk about this, and I tend to watch a lot of um, atheistic views, agnostic, Christian, some Islam, Jewish, Buddhist. I've even got a playlist going on here of um, bigger thoughts and theories. I think bigger truths and theories or something like that. I started it a while ago. I add to it every so often. But it's it's the same principle. It's called the symmetry of theocracy, essentially. That's just something I called it. But and obviously, if you don't know, theocracy is um, a government based on religious law. So there's some political proof of systemic bias in some ways, and if you have any examples that come to mind down below, feel free to comment them. But if you look at our politics for decades, it's been essentially political suicide for a major candidate for president, mayor, governor, whatnot, to be openly atheist or agnostic, um, or to even play a role. And they might low key act Christian, but they're really not because they know that if they don't and they want to do good for people, that they are going to play a role. That doesn't happen a whole lot. Actually, some might argue it happens a lot, but um, I guess I might be naive in thinking I want the best in people, but we'll see. But I mean, how many can you name? You know, how many politicians can you name that have been able to do that and hold successful power or political leadership role or any kind of leadership role really in the public eye, um, and be elected or even make big numbers in the polls, so on and so forth. Um, and that's the thing. It's crazy. It forces people to either hide who they are or worse, again, having fake faith just to have a fair chance. Honestly, it shouldn't even be a question. It shouldn't be, but it just proves that there's an unwritten rule that you must be part of a specific faith system that can be seen as more of a trustworthy leader in the country. And when I say it shouldn't even be a question, I mean it shouldn't even matter, but it does. Especially when our country has things like "In God We Trust" on our money, on our leadership buildings. It connects back to my main point when I see "In God We Trust" on currency, or hear politicians arguing for laws about science, marriage, or our bodies based on their interpretation of, for example, the Bible. It I feel the same way that when people, from that part of it say they feel about Sharia law sometimes. And from my perspective, the issue isn't which holy book. The issue is using any holy book to write laws for a diverse society. A law should be based on reason, empathy, and the public good. What we can all agree on, not on because my God says so. Um, and I'm going off bullet points here, so bear with me. This is side note. This is the exact reason why I created Psycast. It's because long form discussions like this tax me big time, and sometimes the points come across as really awkward. So because of my ADHD and because I wander, I'm using bullet points. So I apologize if it comes off like that, but it's what you know, it's a part of what how I process. So anyway, the same as passing laws based on money or lobbying groups, both are a special interest. One is corporation, the other is a church imposing their specific values on everyone else instead of focusing on the common good. Um, it's a lot of times when you bring this up, the debate can get sidetracked. People will say, "Well, my religion is peaceful, unlike that one." The whole argument, it's a distraction. Every major religion has a complex history and a huge variety of followers, going back to what I said earlier. You can find examples of peace and examples of violence in all of them, including Buddhism, surprisingly. Um, Now, very rare, but you know, It can be there, but you know, it's a distraction that doesn't matter, and that's the whole point. It can be a distraction, even if a religion was 100% peaceful 100% of the time. It's still a specific belief system, and the moment you make that belief system into law, you're forcing it on people who do not share it. The argument isn't rather one religion is nicer than another. The argument is that the government's job isn't to be nice on behalf of a church. Its job is to be neutral and protect everyone. Some people might try to undercut this by saying that, you know, let's say, for example, secularism, which is where you can see this approach coming from, if you look at it certain ways, is just a belief system. But again, that misses the entire point. My argument isn't to replace one dogma with another, and it's not coming from a place of hating religion. I understand why the concept of a God is so powerful. I get that people draw incredible strength, hope, and community from it. It's a real, valid, and deeply human thing. But that's exactly why my position is what it is. Because it's such a personal and private experience, it doesn't belong in impersonal public law. My argument is that the foundation for our laws, the default, has to be human, based on reason, empathy, and protecting the rights and well-being of all humans, not just one group. The moment any external belief system, Christian, Islamic, or otherwise, is used to write laws, it undercuts human value and it puts dogma above people. I know that's harsh. I apologize. It's just, sometimes it's hard to find ways to say it. Sometimes it's even harder to talk about this, which is why I rarely ever bring this stuff up on the channel. Of course, I say rarely, but it might be once a month or something, especially during a live stream. But it's usually just like little nuggets of discussion here and there. It's really more political than it is any kind of religious context. But anyway, my position's simple. The laws that govern us should be based on shared humanity, not a specific group's version of divinity. It's the only way to be fair to everyone, and it's the only way for America to live up to its own PR. Um, it's it's a little scary for a guy on the outside, for a guy that sees these religious groups praying back and forth when we're just like, it's weird. I mean, it's like seeing two groups of neighborhood kids, like trying to, I don't know, fight over something or whatnot. It's just crazy. And I'm not saying that agnostic atheists like myself are oppressed, but it can sometimes feel that way, because we see things being done in God's name or in one God's name or in somebody's name, and it's like that's not really the point here. The point is for us to live among each other. The point is to have a government that protects everybody, that doesn't deny anybody what they want as long as it's harmless, you know? Um, and people should be able to love how they want to love, marry how they want to marry. I mean, it's, of course, I think one of the most, in recent years, obviously one of the most heaviest ones is um, abortions. And that's a matter that's hard to wrestle. But to me, it's up to the mother. It's her choice. It's her choice. And I think it also depends on the context too. But like what happened? You know, how was there a pregnancy in the first place? But because of dogma, a lot of the time, it tends to be the root of that matter being extremely one-sided. And it impacts one life or the other. Um, Whenever life does actually begin. And so, it's nuts. But again, 99% of laws should be equal for everybody. 99.9%. In the subject of abortions, that's, to me, it's just one thing. It's up to the mother. It's her choice. And I get people are trying to protect the baby, the unborn, whatnot. But um, again, my opinion on it. So, but at the root of it, for people that argue for pro-life, I would ask, where does that root come from? I mean, are you saying that because you actually think that, or are you saying that because because it's a religious dogma that you think if you don't fight for it, you might go to hell, you know? Or are you doing it because you actually believe, you know, the child should have a voice? And sadly, in my experience, I've seen it both ways. I've seen people that, because I grew up Christian, members of my family are part of Christian leadership, and it's varied. People argue that they have to do this because they don't want to go to hell, because as they're taught growing up, and as the good book tells them, that if certain things are not done, you will burn in a lake of fire. You know, or on the other side of it, they hear the teachings of Jesus, and it instills a goodness within them that they really do believe that is justification for doing certain things and for arguing certain ways. It's so varied. It's so, you know, both open and closed in a lot of ways. But the common factor should be that it should be fair to everybody, no matter what. And that's the whole point of society, you know? That's the whole point. I mean, that's what separates us from, you know, being chaotic beings that we are totally capable of being. We're here for ourselves. We're here to guide ourselves. We're here to balance ourselves the best we can. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of experience. It takes a lot of going through things in order to learn that. And I think we've been through enough and so much to know where we can be. But instead, a lot of the times we keep going back. Because sadly, if you look at it, that's human nature. But it's also human nature to learn and experience and grow and put things into place, um, and grow from there. So, anyway, I could go on and on, but I think for the most part, I have presented my opinions and thoughts. Um, I won't go on any longer because I don't know how long I've gone. It's probably like 45 minutes by now, if not longer, and my throat is killing me. So, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay sane. Remember, you're awesome. Never let the world tell you otherwise. And again, just remember, this is just the opinions of an agnostic atheist. Um, I'm an American. I'm a voter. I'm a human being, and I'm a guy that just wants to see everybody protected, but also be able to be who they are. And if we start removing rights of people, then we're, in my opinion, going against everything America stands for. This is not one person's America or one group's America. This is an America where people can be free and open Americans. Um, and I think that's what counts most. You can be who you want to be, believe how you want to believe, and not be negatively impacted by it. And I think you should have a hand in say in everything, no matter what. Well, anyway, again, I could go deeper. Anyway, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for watching. And chapters should be live. And if you're watching this in the future, you want to leave a comment, feel free. I do vet them for toxicity, so if you don't see your comment appear right away, it's just waiting on approval. And I hate to do that, but with the internet nowadays, um, and YouTube policy on comments, it's up to me as a content creator to be able to make sure that those comments that are very negative, very toxic, very derogatory get removed. So Anyway, see you later. Peace. Ugh, sorry, throat's dry.